that reason to attend tonight. And then Tasha Eisted, of course, she is at the moment in Dubai, where she is working on and off, or at least the best part of the year. So we have a number of apologies from our management side already, and I believe that we have also received a number of apologies from our members, ordinary members. Those apologies have been duly noted by our manager, Roger. So with those few apologies, I think that we also have already attended to the question of attendance. I have been informed by Shirley and Roger that we do have more than 30 members present, and 30 members constitute a quorum, so this meeting is properly constituted. I believe that the previous minutes, that you have all received them by email with your invitation for this meeting. Ek aanvaar dat daar nie probleme is met die vorige notiele nie. Kan ek net hoor, is daar enige regstellings, any corrections, any comments or anything about last year's minutes, previous minutes? Nothing? So can we then formally adopt the previous minutes as corrected? Thank you very much. Now, as I've said, I'm going to take this, to try and make this meeting as informal and as short as possible. Emil has, despite his sickness, provided me with his chairman's report for the past year. And it is my pleasure then to, on his behalf, to present his chairman's report for the year 2023. A short background and history. There are a number of new members also present, so very shortly and very briefly, just a little background, but if you're interested, you will find the full history of Seven Dams on our website, and I'm sure when you joined, you also visited our website, so please go and have a look. It's quite interesting to see where we come from and how much progress we have made since our van dat ons tot stand gekomen since our inception. Dankie, Shirley. The Conservancy extends over 86 hectares and 4 portions of land located to the north of Bloemfontein and close to the Free State Botanical Gardens. The land is owned, and that is not always realized and known by our members. The land is owned by Mangaung Metro Municipality. We are not owners of the land. The Friends of Seven Dams NPC adopted the role as the custodians of the land, and this dates back to the early 90s, 1992, if my memory serves me correctly. The Friends look after the land, the development and maintenance as an urban natural park and conservancy. We hope to continue with the task for many years to come. The Friends further mitigate any negative impact on the land through consultation, negotiation, and even legal processes if required. And that we have been involved in for the past few years. Fortunately, it seems that that is a part of history now. The Friends will continue to have a strong focus on consultation and interaction with the MMM up to the point where a formal agreement is reached to ensure the protection for future generations. We do have a long-term view. The Board of Directors I want to make use of this opportunity to truly thank my whole board for their loyal and passionate support and hard work done behind the scenes the past year. I can just emphasize again that this team works without compensation. Now, it's something that, especially with everything that we hear about mismanagement and corruption and so forth, that every cent of your membership fees are used and utilized for the maintenance and improvement of the Conservancy. The directors do not receive any remuneration whatsoever. They are refunded on occasion when they do incur expenses. They are refunded, but that is all. Mr. Snyman makes mention of, in particular, myself as Vice Chairman, Cornelie Quinn, our Treasurer, Tasha Eisted, Louis Company, also with the Legal Affairs, Shirley Hyland over there, and Leander Botha. And then our Conservancy Manager, I want to introduce Mr. Roger Wansbury, our manager at the Conservancy, who was appointed from the 1st of February this year. Roger, perhaps if you can just stand up and make a bow here in the front so that those who have not yet met you at least know what you look like. And please, if you have any suggestions, any comments, any ideas, talk to him after the meeting. It's the ideal occasion to visit, to exchange a few thoughts. Roger has already been with us for the past 9 months and has made his presence known by his active involvement and supervision. And we wish him all the best with the journey with us to help maintain and protect this Conservancy. Agreement with the Mangaung Metro Municipality. The Friends of Seven Dams Conservancy has a long-established relationship with the MMM regarding the Conservancy. It was well emphasized and referred to even in the Environmental Management Plan dated March 2008. The board has over the past 4 years started with negotiations and interaction with the municipality with the goal to establish a permanent written agreement with the municipality. I can just, as an aside, add that the original agreement with the municipality, which dates back to the early 90s, as I have said, we could not trace that over a number of years, and it seems that we must accept that it is irretrievably lost. And therefore, our negotiations to enter into a renewed memorandum of understanding with the municipality regarding the Conservancy, and what we also aim at is a long-term rental agreement with them. That would ensure stability and certainty as regards the future of the Conservancy. The draft MOU and lease agreement was discussed and negotiated with the municipality in the past month. Certain amendments were requested on the initial draft documents. The formal final agreement will be submitted to the municipality in the coming weeks. We will keep members informed of our progress. We thank our Director, Lucian Compani, and his team at Botswana Henny Attorneys for their legal assistance and work in this regard to date. Another matter is the proclamation as a protected environment. Environmental Management Group, through the help of Mr. C.V. Vermeulen, investigated the possibility to formally proclaim the Conservancy as a protected area. That is the formality of a nature reserve. We have received the full motivation and need to approach the municipality, the landowner, for permission to proceed with the proclamation. After this approval from Mangaung, The process for the proclamation as a protected environment will commence at DESTEA, the Department for Tourism and Environmental Affairs. The Friends have initiated and will fund the process going forward. So if you're wondering about the finances, that is the way some of it will also go. Then this EMG, the Environmental Management Group, has conducted a full survey of the Conservancy, and they've drawn up an alien invasive plants management plan for the area. EMG had further discussions with the board and a lot of interaction with Roger in the past months. The plan was implemented, and we would like to report that good progress has been made to date. This is a continuous long-term program whereby most of the invasive plant species are removed by hand or mechanical methods. I think you would have noted that at some stage there were vast fields of these sort of purple-pink flowers. That is called in Afrikaans die blou waterbossie. That is really a bad invasive species. It takes over and forces out all other plants, and that is why that was the first thing that we tackled after receiving this management plan from EMG. And we would like then to thank also EMG, Mr. Xavier Vermeulen, Rikus Nel, and Emma Ferreira for all their hard work and their input up to date. The Friends also employ 2 workers that continuously assist with the maintenance and cleaning of the Conservancy, Charles and Lucky, regular cleaning of littering, cleaning of the dustbins, cutting off overgrown roots, and assisting with erosion, cutting off fire breaks, and so forth. And we also thank once again Roger, our manager, and our 2 workers for their continued efforts to keep the Conservancy clean, tidy, free of invasive plant species, and a pleasure for all of you to visit. Members and membership fees, we are currently in total 1,174 paid up individual members. There was a time some years ago where we were very impressed when we reached 400 members. So you can imagine that there has over the years been a tremendous growth in membership and support, and the name of the Seven Dams Conservancy is a very positive one, which has become well known throughout Bloemfontein. And then we have one corporate member, that is the Wild Olive Estate Owners Association. Approximately 1,650 people presently residing in the estate, where an estimated 10% of the residents use the Conservancy on a regular basis. And here also I can just add that Wild Olive Estate from the levies pay over regularly a percentage of that amount to Seven Dams as their contribution for the privilege of having it available to all their residents. And thank you to all the members who are taking hands with us to protect the Conservancy. I can again emphasize that your membership to the Friends of the Seven Dams Conservancy helps the board to have the necessary funding to maintain as well as protect the Conservancy. The current membership fee is R300 per member annually, and we will discuss under finances in more detail how the money is spent. I would like to expressly, okay, this is me, thank Mr. Joe Heemstra as well as Roger for the upkeep of our members register and keeping everybody well informed on activities. I think that you would have noted from the correspondence from the email that I am very much on the background nowadays. Roger has taken over almost everything, and I am much more relaxed and enjoying my pension years. Then, ladies and gentlemen, amendment of the Spatial Development Framework, the SDF, of the municipality. The Friends have requested to amend the SDF to exclude the portion shown as developable on the western side of the Conservancy. Some of you may recall that a few years ago there was the part of, they wanted to sell off that part of the Conservancy for development, and we had quite a battle to get that decision reversed, but we were successful. But we need to have that formalized, and this is what the SDF is all about. We are still awaiting, our information is that it has been changed, it has been amended, but we are still waiting for formal confirmation with the approved amended SDF from the municipality. Something I think which is close to all of our hearts is the question, the matter of the western fence. As was reported last year at the AGM, the Friends reached an agreement with the developer to the west, the Lilyvale side, to the effect that a fence needs to be constructed on the boundary between Seven Dams and the Lilyvale development. Further to the agreement that the fence will need to be constructed within 18 months, within the 18-month time frame from the date of the agreement. And we further agreed to financially contribute towards the construction of the fence. We have received feedback from the developer that they are busy with the procurement process for the construction. We agreed that the see-through, clear view type fence would be constructed, and the contractual agreed completion date for the fence is the 31st of March 2024. So that is surprisingly close or near in the near future. We will see whether they keep to this agreement, and part of our agreement is also that the longer the finalization drags on, the less our contribution becomes. So there's a sort of a penal clause built into the agreement. The rules of the Conservancy, it needs to be stressed from time to time that the Conservancy is first and foremost a nature conservation area, and all conduct in the Conservancy must be accordingly. And underlying everything is always be considerate towards other users. We've had two very negative incidents with dogs, for instance, dogs that are not under control or that were not leashed by owners. One incident where a duiker was killed, and another where one of our members were bitten. We again request members, and we've done it almost every year in the past, to please assist with control of dogs. It remains preferable that dogs should be on a leash, and the larger the dog, the greater the need to have it on a leash. That, I think, is common sense. Then dealing with access control and security, we can again emphasize that the Conservancy is available to all public members, but we should at least know who the users are. We cannot secure and have a safe environment if access is not controlled. And that is also why the fence on our western boundary is such an important issue, which unfortunately has been dragging on for quite some time, but there is light on the horizon. We thank
Wild Olive Estate by name of Mr. Steve Libbe and Mr. Jacob Mokhela, security, Wild Olive Estate Security, for their patrols and assistance to help the Conservancy keep the Conservancy clean from unwanted intruders. Just a reminder that all important emergency numbers and contact details are on the boards at the entrances. It's good to save those numbers perhaps on your cell phones, so that if you're somewhere in the Conservancy, that you can immediately contact one of these services. We are also a member of MAFPA. Now, MAFPA is the Mangaung Fire Protection Association, and we will continue to support this affiliation. We were fortunate this year that we have had no fires up to date during this dry winter season. And with the rain, the fire hazard is already declining substantially. But we prefer, of course, that you do not smoke in the Conservancy. We have again cut the necessary fire breaks, mostly on the perimeter, as well as a few dissecting the Conservancy. Information and administration. Our Google Drive system, the online system, works well. It does make it easy to collaborate with all concerned. And on behalf not only of Emil, but the whole board, I would especially like to thank Shirley Highland for her great administrative and management skills that she avails to the Conservancy. Shirley, thank you very much. Website, social media and marketing. The website is continuously updated. Sometimes it takes a little time, but please visit the website. You have the address for more information on the Conservancy. And please like and share our Facebook page also. When you walk in the Conservancy, take your photographs. There are so many beautiful things from large landscapes, beautiful lighting, to the smallest of flowers. Post and share your pictures or information on the Conservancy. It keeps our Facebook also alive and interesting. And many thanks to Tasha in her absence for her contributions towards these activities. Then we are investigating the possibility of constructing one or more bird hides at the big dam. We have taken hands with Louise Coetzee, our guest speaker this evening, as well as we've also consulted Roger, I think, with Rick Nuttall and David de Swart, all knowledgeable people to assist us with the planning, and once again we will keep you advised of progress and decisions. And we will run a birding photo competition, hopefully in this year, also with Louise's help, and with her input we will start with this as soon as possible. And please look at your mail as well as the posts on social media for details. This I think will be in the very near future. Future management and control, and as a matter of importance, we will continue to promote the Seven Dams Conservancy, including the conservation of its natural habitat, assuring a pleasurable, my English is terrible, a recreational experience for our visitors, and maintaining its aesthetic appearance. And that, on behalf of Emil, is his chairman's report for the year 2023. Can I perhaps at this point in time ask, are there any specific questions? There will be time for questions and general later on our agenda, but is there anything that jumped out in the course of the chairman's report that you want to raise at this point in time? Thank you. Nothing. Then the next point on our agenda is the financial report, and for that I call on Cornelie Quinn. That was close. Thank you, Cornelie. Over to you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, my surname has changed. It's Quinn. I'm just going to do this quickly and in brief. I do think you received a copy of the financial statements in the invitation. So you did have a chance to peruse it, and if you do have any questions, please don't be shy. But so just the highlights. So our income that we received for 2023, our year ends in June of 2023. So you can see there we made just a little bit less than 300,000 Rand throughout the year. And as Joe mentioned, these funds are used for the maintenance and the upkeep of the Conservancy. And then, you can see we also received some interest on our funds. Then in terms of expenses, our main expenses, as you can see, is our staff wages, employees. So we have our 2 workers, Lucky and Charles, who receive a monthly payment. And then from February, is it? Yeah. Roger, I won't call it skip gaan nie inkom nie, nee, but at least you. So we pay these 3 individuals for their time. And I think in terms of Roger, you can already see the impact that he's made also with Lucky and Charles. The upkeep of the place, it takes time, it takes effort, it must be done on a continuous basis. So we're very thankful for you guys. Other expenses, legal expenses, there as you can see, in comparison to previous years, it's actually really been much reduced. And then, other major expenses is muddy maintenance, any repairs to the bridges. Often, we have to buy things like petrol and fuel for the cutters, and things need upkeep. The bunkies, the benches, they all need their upkeep. Any questions about the funds? Okay, then, so we use Martelies Bester. She is our auditor, and I must say from my side, I work with them on a regular basis. They really do an amazing job for us. Even when we incorporated into the MPC, there was all kinds of tax exemption and all kinds of paperwork that they assisted us with. So I just want to see from the meeting if it is accepted that we keep using them as our auditors. Can I get a yay? Yays. Thank you very much. So it used to be a smaller amount, and then because we had to do all this massive work when we incorporated, there was extra fees that were incurred. Also, since we are now an NPC and a formal entity, there are all kinds of reviews and official matters that must be done for us to stay, wat is die woord nou? Compliant, thank you very much. Yeah. So it has become more expensive. Is it still okay that we use them? Yes? Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I can just add that although the expenses have increased substantially, we still view their fees as very reasonable, and the quality of their work and the assistance we have received has been excellent. So I am happy that we retain their services. And that also then deals with the appointment of the auditors. Something else that I
forgot to mention as an aside to Emil's report is, and Cornelie referred to that, is I'm sure that you could notice since Roger's involvement the change in the appearance of the Conservancy. It was no longer a question for Johan Botha, one of our previous directors, myself and others who had to physically be involved there and try to keep the place up to scratch, do litter patrols and so forth. There's been a tremendous change, I think, and much appreciated. And then also, many of you might have noticed that there were signboards, little padpredikante erected, and they were only there for a few days. We are just testing, so to speak, the erection of these signs. Road, wat noem mens dit, Roger? Padpredikante, route directions, to give the various routes, at least the main routes, names like Electric Avenue or Steenbok Trail or something like that. And I want to at this point in time invite you, please, if you have any nice ideas, any ideas for names for these various routes, please drop us an email and send us your suggestion. We would appreciate your participation in getting a number of route names which involve you also and which are fitting to the Conservancy. So we're looking for names of either plants or animals or something like that, that you can associate with the Conservancy. And we would very much appreciate your contributions there. We have not, there are 2 or 3 names which are more or less given at this point in time, but there's still a lot of scope for your contributions. So please send us your suggestions and we'll consider them. Right, ladies and gentlemen, then we've dealt with the financial report, we've dealt with the appointment of the auditors, and then the next point is the election of the directors. I can just indicate that all 7 your directors is still available and willing to continue with their appointments and their duties. I just want to say again that Emil Snyman, of course, is your chairman. Myself is vice chairman and also responsible for legal and member issues. Cornelie, your financial director. Lucian Compagnie, also legal matters. Shirley, administration and communication. Tasha, nowadays still actively involved, although she's most of the time in Dubai, or where is she nowadays? Yeah, I think it's Dubai. And then Rihanna Botha for projects and security. Tasha is for marketing and events, and she's arranged most of this for made most of the arrangement for tonight's meeting. The snacks and so forth. Our people here from Roelof, wat is julle naam? Creative Kilowatt for sound and so forth, and our YouTube also. That is all Tasha's work. So even though she's not physically present, she makes a tremendous contribution. So, are there any suggestions for the directors for the coming year? Any objections to the directors continuing? That's out. Can we then accept and assume? Yes, sir.
Just so that it's in your face, in case you want to walk in with your dog without a leash, to say, dogs on a leash, not allowed, or something to that effect.
Yeah. Sorry, can I just get your name, please, sir? Muketi. Muketi. Thank you very much. It is a contentious issue which we have discussed in the board of directors numerous times at our meetings. Whether dogs should be, whether we should reimpose the rule of dogs must be leashed at all times. We're still, let's say, split on that matter, because it is a contentious issue, and because of the unpleasant experiences that we've had. So it is receiving continuous attention. We have as yet not reached that stage where we want to make it a hard and fast rule. But thank you for your suggestion. It has been noted, and we will take it up once again. There are so many issues going both ways. There are many people with harmless dogs, and they do not want to have to leash the dogs continually. And it's a matter of common sense. If you have a big dog, just leash the dog, and there will be no problems. And then, of course, just a reminder that the rule says whether it is leashed or not, your dog must be within 10 meters of the owner, and it must be under effective control. And that is what we often find, of course, that the dog is not effectively controlled, even though it might be close to the owner. But thank you very much, sir. We will attend to that once again. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Shirley, please. Yeah. Once again, there. Yeah, also pros and cons. The basic idea is what you take in, you should also take out. If you use your tissue, put it back into your pocket or whatever. Don't just dump it. And if you have more dustbins or rubbish bins, it invites, of course, more rubbish to be dumped there, to be brought in and to be dumped there, and it creates extra work. It's quite a distance for the people, our workers, to collect the bags with rubbish and carry it out to the gate. So once again, but we'll discuss that also. Thank you very much. Cornelie? No, no. We are managing the Conservancy on behalf of or as agent of the municipality. So we are in all respects. Okay. Roger? Yeah. Thank you, Roger. Right. Any further questions? Any other issues that you would like to raise? This is your opportunity. Speak now or... Ladies and gentlemen, in that case, if there are no further questions, that concludes the formal part of this meeting. Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you for listening. And thank you most of all for your support, not only by your membership, not only by your membership fees, but also for supporting us at this meeting. It's good to see the people, it's good to interact with you, and thank you very much also for that. Thank you. And then the best part of the evening, I now have the pleasure to introduce to you Louise Coetzee, our speaker for tonight. Louise and I just had a short chat before the meeting started. We know each other for quite a number of years already. And I asked her, when are you really an ornithologist and when are you simply a bird lover? I'm still not quite sure about that, but apparently you have to have some sort of a qualification to qualify as an ornithologist. Dis 'n moeilike woord daai vir 'n boertjie. Maar Louise, baie dankie dat jy jou weg oopgesien het om vanaand weer jou kennis en jou liefde met ons te kom deel. Sy was vir baie jare, 35 jaar verbonde aan die museum hier in Bloemfontein, maar sy het 'n studie gemaak en dit was haar veld van myte. Mites. Not mice. En ek weet nie eers dat daar soveel daaroor te leer is dat mens 'n loopbaan daarvan kan maak nie. Bewonderenswaardig. Wat ek weet van myte is hierdie rooi fluweelmyte wat in Suidwes in Namibië na die reën uitkom. Pragtige goetertjies. En ek het nooit eens gedink dat dit myte is daarin nie. Ek het later aan geleer. Maar Louise is, kan ek maar sê, mal oor voëls. Sy is baie jare verbonde al aan die Bloemfonteinse voëlklub en sy het 'n geweldige kennis en sy het ons ook al vorige jare die plesier gegee van na haar aanbiedings te kyk. Louise, baie welkom weer hier by ons en baie dankie dat jy jou weg oopgesien het daarvoor. Ons gaan baie graag na jou luister en baie graag na jou prentjies kyk.
Dankie, Joe.
Is jy reg hier?
Ja, ek moet nou net kyk, hierdie podium is nie heeltemal vir my bedoel nie. Maar sal maar so van die kant af bewerk. Daai stoeltjie is seker te laag, dink jy. Ek wonder of ek hom nie moet probeer nie. Huh? Dankie, dis 'n beter plan hierdie. Yeah, as Joe said, I'm an acarologist, not an ornithologist. The people who do research in birds like Darby and Rick Nuttall, and so they are the ornithologists. But birding is just a hobby and passion for me, so that's where I come in. And I'm a member of BirdLife Free State, have been for many years, and if anybody would like to know more about our club or join the club, just wave just now. Okay, so birds of the world, it seems a bit pretentious, but I won't talk about all of them. Birds have found their way across the entire planet, live on all continents and just about all islands, even on Antarctica, that also has an endemic bird, the emperor penguin, but also many others that come and go on Antarctica. And according to BirdLife International, there are 11,162 species of birds across the globe. Now, all living things are classified in a specific manner according to their relatedness to each other. And the study of this classification and relatedness, that is called taxonomy. And Carl Linnaeus, a Swedish naturalist, in 1735, he published what is called the Systema Naturae. And in that work, he described the way of describing, of classification, using genus names and species names and so on. And ever since then, that is the way we do it. So they are, all organisms are put in little boxes. So, and classified from a species, a number of species make up a genus, a number of genera make up a family, and so they go. But you don't just pull a name from a hat. Much research goes into species descriptions, and there are strict rules according to which this must be done. And that the rules are regulated by the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. And you have to have a reference specimen that is called the holotype. And for each species that has been described on Earth so far, there must be a holotype stored in a collection, such as museums or academic institutions that have research collections, but that is very important. Now, all animals have two things on their mind: to eat and to procreate. And they've spread all across the planet to fill a certain space in the ecosystem where conditions are favorable for them to suit their lifestyle. And I will also only talk about 6 birds that live on the livable continents. Those are everyone except Antarctica, because birds that live on Antarctica have got very special adaptations to be able to survive that hostile environment. So they are kind of something separate. And there are only 6 species of all this 11,000 species that live and breed on all 6 continents. So the first one, the birds have spread, these are now the birds that have spread through natural distribution. And the first one is the cattle egret. Its historical range is along the Iberian Peninsula, that's Spain and Portugal, and parts of Africa, North Africa and Asia. And it's only since the last 150 years or so that they've started to expand their range. By the end of the 1800s, they have reached South Africa, Southern Africa. And the first breeding record of cattle egret in South Africa was in 1908. And then from Africa, they somehow spread to North America and South America, and they are now even breeding in Canada. And in Europe, they've expanded their range further out of the peninsula, Iberian Peninsula to other areas, and also in Australia and New Zealand, where they've settled in the 1900s. Now, how does this happen? That these birds can even reach South America or Australia from Europe and North Africa. Some populations are migratory, and migratory birds, they move between various different places during seasonal movements. So sometimes it happens that these birds get lost, often through storms and bad weather, that they get blown off course. And then they end up somewhere which is not where they're supposed to be. And if conditions are suitable, they just stay there. And sometimes during this wrong migration, you could say, the birds are also disorientated and they cannot find their way home. So in that way, they just settle where they are. And cattle egret have always been associated with large grazing animals. So they adapted very easily to live with cattle and horses on farms and so on, and of course nature reserves. Veereier? No, the second one is the great egret, groot witreier. They are generally very successful with a large and expanding range. And worldwide, they occur in the warmer regions, and also a small part in Europe. They've got these beautiful, long, fine plumes during the breeding season. But in the 1800s, it became very fashionable for women to have these plumes in their hats. So large numbers of birds, of egrets, cattle egrets, great egrets, were killed to harvest these plumes. But now, numbers have since recovered due to conservation measures. And these plume hunters, as they were called, it was kind of an occupation for them between 1870 and 1920, round about there. And these people became extremely rich, because 1 ounce of feathers, which is 28 grams, was worth $32. And that was at the turn of the previous century, around about $1,000 in today's buying power. And the feathers actually cost more than gold. An ounce of gold cost at that time $20. But each bird only yields, one bird yields a quarter of an ounce of feathers, so that's 7 grams. So 4 birds were killed for 1 ounce of feathers. And harvesting these plumes was really, really cruel, because the adult birds, the breeding birds, were just shot on the nest, and the chicks were left to starve. In this way, they almost wiped out the great egret populations on the western side of the US and Mexico. But then in Britain, there's a lady called Emily Williamson, and she started public protests against this extreme cruelty. And through street protests and media campaigns and so on, they managed to get the law changed so that they cannot, importation of plumes into Britain at least was stopped, was prohibited, and through that the fashion started to change, and then people lost interest in getting all the plumes, and thereby the birds were saved, and they have recovered to a great extent. Then one of the raptors, the peregrine falcon, zwerfvalk, they occur just about everywhere on Earth, except for polar regions, very high mountains, and tropical rainforests. And interestingly, they're also not present in New Zealand. This is a very widely spread raptor and also favored by falconers. They make very use of them. Now, peregrines almost exclusively hunt birds, and rock doves are eventually a good source of prey for them. They search for birds from a very high vantage point or from the air, and then dive down onto the flying bird and with folded wings. And they can reach speeds of up to 320 kilometers per hour. This was measured now through video recordings and so on. And they typically strike the bird with a clenched foot to stun the bird or kill them, and then they turn around and catch the bird in mid-air. It's quite amazing. And this water tower here, Langsam, there was a pair of breeding peregrines there a few years ago. And then the barn owl is also found almost everywhere except polar regions and deserts. But they're also absent from Asia, north of the Himalayas, and Indonesia and some Pacific islands. 90% of their food is small mammals like mice and rats and that kind of thing. So they locate their prey by sound. And owls have got quite a number of special adaptations, but one of these adaptations is that their ears are situated asymmetrically, and through that they can they can determine the direction where the sound comes from. And laboratory tests have shown that they can catch mice in complete darkness in a laboratory. Barn owls, some people prefer to put up owl boxes to attract owls. Now, we have barn owls or spotted eagle owls here, and they prefer different types of nests. So for a barn owl, you have to have an owl box with enclosed sides and a roof and one entrance only. Unfortunately, locally they are also used in the muti trade, and they are believed to give the person special powers. Another raptor is the osprey, a visvalk, and they almost exclusively hunt fish. And for that, they also have a number of very specific adaptations. But osprey are usually found among large water bodies and where there is adequate food. So anywhere, they can pitch up anywhere. And in South Africa, they are non-breeding migrants. In other words, they come here in summer, but they go back again elsewhere where they breed. So we never get to see their nests, which are huge constructions of sticks and so on, usually made on a high vantage point, and they just keep on using the same nest year after year after year. So we never get to see the nest, but they do breed elsewhere on the continent. And the very special adaptations that they have is they're big. The wingspan of an osprey is 1.8 meters from wingtip to wingtip, and that's quite huge. And they dive in the water feet first. And some of the adaptations are that they've got excellent eyesight to detect a fish and below water. They've got a third eyelid, a transparent eyelid, to protect the eye in the water. Most raptors have this protective eyelid anyway. But then they've got closable nostrils. So when they strike the water, they won't drown. The feathers are dense and oily, so they don't get wet that easily. And then the feet, the undersides have got rough spicules to be able to grasp the fish, a slippery fish. The outer toes can move backward, so they've got 2 toes forward, 2 toes back, which will also enable them to grasp better. And the talons are really long, rounded, and sharp, very sharp. So when they emerge from the water with a fish, they turn the fish upright, head first, and then fly off. Now this one, the glossy ibis, glans ibis, this one really surprised me. I never would have thought of this one as one of the 6 birds that live on all continents. Originally, they're a bird from the Old World. That's the part of the world that excludes North and South America. That's the world the old people knew before Columbus got lost. And their populations are, by nature, highly nomadic. So they move around a lot and to wherever there is a suitable habitat for them to breed and to feed. They spread naturally from the northern parts of Africa to South Africa, and also from Africa to the Americas. This is they distributed more or less in the same way as cattle egrets, just by migrating. And the first edition of the bird book, Birds of South Africa, published in 1940 by Austin Roberts, glossy ibis were referred to as a rare migrant from the northern hemisphere. But now, in 1950, the first nests were discovered in the Witwatersrand, and now they are well-established breeding residents in South Africa. But then there are also some birds that have been deliberately introduced to other parts of the world. Now, why did this happen? One reason is that the birds were useful to the people as food, for instance, rock doves, as food or as messengers. And the other reason is people were just purely ignorant and didn't understand what they were doing at that time. So in the 19th and early 20th centuries, there were these acclimatization societies where people were encouraged to introduce birds and animals and anything to other parts of the world. And the aim was to study the animals' ability to adapt in a new environment. And it was also said that they were taken with the European settlers to make them feel at home. So the one is the house sparrow, which is very common here now. Originally a bird from the Middle East, it spread along with agriculture to most parts of Africa, Europe, Asia, and North Africa. And by the mid-1800s, it reached most parts of the world through these introductions. And colonization was so successful that they are regarded as pests in many areas. Now, house sparrows are strongly associated with humans, and they've adapted over time to digest the starch in the grains that humans produced. And when humans started to grow their own food about 10,000 years ago, house sparrows just stayed close to that food source, and then obviously also close to humans. So they are still, today, you find house sparrows more in urban areas and suburban areas than on the farms and so. And because they are so closely associated with humans, cats are actually their number one predator. Historically, they were a good food source for humans, and from in the mid-1500s to the 1800s, they were trapped in huge numbers to make the traditional sparrow pie. And recipes from the past indicate that you need about 100 sparrows to make a decent pie. And in times of famine and hardship, and for instance during wars, they were at least a source of protein. So they were introduced to North America in the mid-1800s, and within 50 years, they've spread all over North America. Also the same thing in Australia in mid-1800s, and they spread so rapidly that they are actually regarded as vermin there. And in Western Australia, the people were a bit more cautious because these birds were introduced in Melbourne. So in Western Australia, they were prevented from establishing by just shooting every bird, every house sparrow that came in sight. And locally, they were introduced. One population from India were introduced in Durban. That's in the 1880s, roundabout. And another population from Britain was introduced to Cape Town. So the house sparrows we have are the descendants of two different strains. But people also made mistakes. If you mess with the balance of nature, you are in for big trouble and consequences that will cause a hardship for years to come. And there are many examples from the past where house sparrows were killed because people thought they damaged the grain crops. But it was just a matter of ignorance about their diet, because during breeding season, the house sparrows consume more insects than grain. And they also feed the insects to the young. So people not understanding this kill the house sparrows and leaving a blank canvas to the insects to just consume the grain. In Britain, the US, and also Australia, in the mid-18th century, in the 1800s, sorry, there were these sparrow clubs with the main aim to kill the sparrows, and prizes were given to the person who killed most sparrows. In Russia, taxes were lowered in proportion to the number of sparrow heads that you could produce. And in China, that's probably the worst example. In the time of Mao Zedong, he declared war on sparrows, rats, flies, and mosquitoes. It was called the Four Pests Campaign of 1958. And he ordered the killing of all these things on sight, and people trapped and shot the house sparrows. And what's actually also very cruel, they made a lot of noise where the birds had their own postage stamps. The one was operating in New Zealand from Auckland to, what was that, Great Barrier Island, which was 90 kilometers away from Auckland, and another one from Auckland to Coppermine Island, 110 kilos. Unfortunately, this statue was in Paris, but it was in 1941, during World War II, in the canister, and the canister attached to the leg of the bird. And 95% of these messages got delivered. And the pigeons were enlisted in the army, and by the Germans and the Allies. But it was awarded with the Animals in War and Peace Medal for bravery, and also the French War Cross for bravery. It got about 2 years, just a little bit more than 2 years old. This one is a famous bird from World War II, where he was also an enlisted member of the United States Army Pigeon Service. And it was credited for saving the lives of civilians and British troops in the Italian village of Calvi Vecchia Now, during the Italian campaign, this town was occupied by the Germans and it was liberated by the British army, but the advance of the British was far quicker than was expected. So the American Air Force had prepared to launch a bomber attack on the town should the British not succeed. But then the British did succeed and they were in the town, and the message to call off the attack was also failed because the communication did not work there for some reason. And then they sent out a bird, and this was this G.I. Joe. And he flew back to the Air Force base. What was that about? It took him 32 kilos and he flew about 20 minutes to get there. And he reached the base literally as the bombers were preparing to take off. So then the bombing attack was called off. After the war, he still served for the rest of the war. And after the war, he was also taken back to America. And he lived for another, he became 18 years old, which I think is quite a good age for a bird. And he also got 2 medals, the Deacon Medal for Gallantry in November 1943, and the Animals in War and Peace Medal for Bravery. That's a medal that was introduced in 2019. So these birds got them posthumously. Then there's the racing pigeons. And in some parts, this is really a big thing. Races can be up to 1,600 kilometers. And some birds with a tailwind can reach up to 130. And the most expensive bird sold on auction, there's a huge auction that takes place regularly in Belgium. And at this auction, according to the Guinness World Records of 2022, the most expensive racing pigeon sold is New Kim, this bird. And it was sold for an insane, and this is in 2020, it was sold for an insane 1.6 million euro. That's about 30 million rand. And there are other uses for these birds. They are used for climate change research, where little backpacks with data recorders are attached to the backs, because these birds can fly. They can sit on the ground, fly to the, sit on the eaves of buildings or on the roof and in trees. So they can really collect data on a microclimate level better than drones or anything like that. And then you can also use them to transport your data by sticking a little USB there on the back. But unfortunately, they're also used for drug smuggling. And this bird was caught in Kuwait, on the border of Kuwait. And recently, a bird was caught in a Canadian prison with a packet of meth on his back. This is just a small snippet from Reuters that was reported in 2009, saying that it was quicker to transport data by bird than by telecom internet. So maybe we should start keeping birds, pigeons. And This is a video that I found on YouTube, War of the Birds, which is really an eye-opener to the way that these birds were used in the Second World War, especially the spying missions that they were sent on. But there are two films called War of the Birds. The other one is a Danish or something animation film, so don't look at that one. It says it's a documentary on birds, this one. Okay. Don't know if there's any questions or...
Thank you very, very much. I just asked Shirley to give you a token of appreciation for your presentation.
Oh, thank you very much.
Louise, baie dankie. Dit is fascinerend. Nie gedink daar draai soveel om 'n paar duwe nie. Gewoonlik as ek hulle daar by my sien, wil ek hulle net blaker. Dames en here, baie dankie. Ons het regtig 'n oorvloedsversnaperinge daar agter beskikbaar. En ons wil julle graag daar sien en laat ons 'n bietjie met mekaar kan gesels. Please join us for refreshments at the back. And thank you very much once again.